Your performance review is not a conversation. I need you to understand that before you walk into that room, it feels like one. Your manager is warm, they are smiling, they are nodding, they are asking how you feel about your year. And because they are being warm and the room feels safe, you start talking. Really talking. And that is the moment most employees damage themselves. Not by doing something dramatic, by saying something they thought was perfectly reasonable. Something honest, something that came from a genuine place, and watching it get used against them in ways they never saw coming. The performance review is the most politically loaded conversation you will have at work all year. And most people walk into it completely unprepared, not because they do not care, because nobody told them the rules. That warmth your manager is showing, it is professional. That open-door energy they brought into the room, it is practiced. You are not talking to your friend. You are talking to someone who will write a document about this conversation. A document that will inform decisions about your salary, your future, and your position in this organization. This video is about the 5 things employees say in that room that they should never say. Not because they are dishonest, because they are dangerous. And most people only figure that out after the damage is already done. My name is Diana. Subscribe now. This channel is about understanding how the workplace actually operates. Check the link in the description for tools and resources to protect your career. Number 1. Never say, "I have been doing the work of 2 people. I know why you want to say it, because it is probably true. You have been covering a role that was never filled. You have been absorbing responsibilities that were never officially yours. You have been doing it without complaint because you are professional. And now you are sitting across from your manager and you want them to acknowledge it. You want credit. You deserve credit. But the way you are framing it is going to work against you. Here is what your manager hears when you say that. They hear, "I am overwhelmed." They hear, "I am resentful." They hear, "This might be a retention risk." And then, and this is the part that costs people, they start wondering whether the role you have been covering should stay with you, or whether you have simply proven that one person can handle both. Which means no new hire, no additional support, just the same workload. Now official. The professional version of that conversation sounds different. It sounds like, "Over the past year I have taken on several responsibilities beyond my original scope. I would like to discuss how that expanded role is reflected in my compensation and title from here." That sentence says the same thing, but it opens a negotiation instead of a complaint. One version makes them feel pressure, the other gives them a decision to make. Those 2 outcomes are not the same. Number 2. Never say, "I am just happy to be here," or any version of it. "I am grateful for this opportunity. I love this company. I cannot imagine working anywhere else." I know it comes from a genuine place. Maybe you do love it there. Maybe you genuinely feel lucky. But the moment those words leave your mouth in a performance review, you have just handed over your leverage. All of it. In one sentence. Because what your manager heard is, "This person is not going anywhere." Which means this person does not need to be retained. Which means the budget we were going to use on their raise can go somewhere else. Salary negotiation is a conversation about risk, the company's risk of losing you. The moment you communicate that losing you is not a realistic risk, you have ended the negotiation before it started. You do not have to be cold. You do not have to pretend you hate it there. But your satisfaction with the role should never be the headline of your performance review. Your results should be, walk in with your contributions. Walk in with your impact. Walk in knowing what the market pays for someone who does what you do. Because that information changes the conversation more than any expression of loyalty ever will. Number 3. Never say, "Just tell me what I need to do to get promoted." This one gets smart, ambitious employees every time. Because it sounds proactive. It sounds like initiative. It sounds like the kind of thing a driven person says. But here is what it actually communicates. It communicates that you do not already know. It communicates that you are waiting for permission. It communicates that the roadmap for your own career currently lives in someone else's head, and no one gets promoted because they asked what promotion looks like. They get promoted because the people above them could not imagine not promoting them. When you ask your manager to define your path, you have just made yourself a passenger in a car they are driving. The professional version of this conversation requires preparation. You come in having already defined what the next level looks like. You come in with specific evidence that you are already operating at that level. And then you ask, based on the contributions I have outlined, I would like to discuss what the timeline looks like for a title and compensation adjustment. That is not asking for permission. That is presenting a case. One puts you in their hands, the other puts them in a position to respond to yours. Know what you want before you walk in. Have the evidence ready. Do not make your manager write the story of your value. That is your job. Number 4. Never say, I know I made some mistakes this year, but the but is not the problem. The volunteering is. Here is something most employees do not understand about performance reviews. Your manager is not always fully briefed on everything that went wrong in your year. Some things fell through the cracks. Some things were handled and forgotten. Some errors exist only in your memory and in nobody else's active file. When you sit down and proactively catalog your mistakes, even to minimize them, you are handing your manager a document, a mental document of things they can now formally note, of things they may now need to address, of things that will appear in the written review because you introduced them. The performance review is not a confessional. It is a negotiation. And in a negotiation, you do not lead with your weaknesses. Now, if your manager raises a specific situation, you address it directly and professionally. You take accountability without catastrophizing. You outline what you learned and what changed. That is a completely different conversation from the one you started by volunteering the list. The rule is simple. Let them raise what they raise and respond to that. Do not arrive having already done their critical work for them. Number 5. Never say, I'm not really looking, but if the right opportunity came along, you know how it is. This one gets said more than you think. Usually by employees who want their manager to believe they are in demand, who want to create a sense of urgency without making an outright threat, who have seen advice online telling them to hint at outside interest to strengthen their negotiating position. And that advice is not entirely wrong. The delivery is, because what that sentence does, in a performance review specifically, is flag you, not as someone in demand, as someone who is mentally already 1 foot out. And organizations protect themselves from flight risks. They stop including them in long-term planning. They stop investing in their development. They start building contingency plans. If you have a genuine outside offer and you want to use it as leverage, that is a different conversation with a different structure. That conversation happens outside the performance review, with documentation, with preparation, with a clear ask attached to it. Inside the performance review, your position is this. You are fully invested in this role. You are focused on the results you have delivered, and you expect that investment to be recognized. That is where the leverage lives, not in hinting at a door you may or may not actually be willing to walk through. Before I get to the protection section, I want to say something about the energy of that room, because the 5 things above are mostly about what you say. But there is something equally important about how you show up. Do not let the warmth of the conversation make you forget where you are. Performance reviews often start casually. How are you doing? How is the family? How is the commute treating you? And because your manager is being warm, because the energy feels relaxed, you match it. You get comfortable. And comfort is where people get loose. They share things they did not mean to share. They complain about things they meant to keep private. They reveal frustrations that were supposed to stay inside their own head. Your manager is not your therapist. They are not your mentor. They are not your friend. Not in this room, not right now. They are the person writing the document. Be warm, be professional, be genuinely engaged with the conversation. But never forget that every word you say in that room is on the record. Even the ones that feel casual. Especially those. So what does a good performance review actually look like? It starts before you walk in. You spend time, real time, building your case. Not a list of tasks you completed. A story of impact. What did you deliver? What did it cost before you fixed it? What would have happened if you had not been there? Those questions produce the kind of evidence that changes the conversation. You walk in knowing 3 numbers: what you currently make, what the market pays for your skills and experience right now, and what you are asking for. Not a range, a specific number. Because ranges give your manager permission to land at the bottom. You control the framing of the conversation. You are not asking how you did, you are presenting how you did. There is a difference in posture between those 2 approaches that every experienced manager will feel. You address anything they raise directly, and then you move forward. You do not dwell. You do not over-explain. You do not volunteer additional problems. And at the end of the meeting, whatever the outcome, you ask for the next steps in writing. When will the salary decision be made? When will you receive written feedback? What is the timeline for the promotion conversation? Those questions signal that you are tracking this seriously. And serious employees get taken more seriously. Here's the real thing worth saying at the end of all of this. Most employees walk into performance reviews hoping their manager already knows how good they are. Hoping the year spoke for itself. Hoping the effort was seen, and some of it was. But hope is not a strategy. And a performance review is not the place to find out whether the right people notice the right things. It is the place to make sure they do. You worked hard this year. You delivered. You showed up when it was not easy and kept going when it was not recognized. That deserves to be represented clearly. Not apologetically. Not tentatively. Clearly. Walk in prepared. Walk in knowing your worth. And walk in understanding that the room is professional, not personal. Because when you stop treating it like a conversation with a friend and start treating it like the negotiation it actually is, the outcome changes. Your performance review happens once a year, sometimes less. It is one of the few moments where the conversation about your value is officially on the table. Do not waste it being comfortable. Do not waste it being grateful. Do not waste it volunteering information that works against you. Walk in with your case built. Walk in knowing what you are worth. And walk out having said the things that move you forward, not the things that hold you back. Drop a comment with the number that hit closest to home. 1 through 5. You do not have to explain. I will know. Share this with someone who has a performance review coming up. This video might be the most useful thing they watch this year. Subscribe for more content that tells you what nobody at work is going to tell you. Check the link in the description for tools that help you prepare, negotiate, and protect your career. I am Diana. I will see you in the next one.